Hi class, welcome to Unit C Concept 1, solving quadratics by factoring. In order to solve quadratics, we need to come up with another way to solve. And so we need to remember multiplication property of 0. If the product of factors equals 0, then at least one of the factors has to be equal to 0 itself. So what it's saying is that if A times B times C equals 0, then one or more of these things have to be true. A must be 0, B must be 0, or C must be 0. This is the only way that when you multiply anything together that you will get 0 for your answer. So here are the solving steps. In order to use the property, obviously one side of the equation must be 0. You're going to have to add or subtract terms in order to get them all on one side and 0 on the other. Since we need the product of factors, the next thing to do is to factor the polynomial. The last step is the new step. Write each variable factor, that's a factor that has an x in it. Take each of those factors and set it equal to 0 and then solve. So here's our first example, x squared minus 8x plus 12 equals 0. The first thing we want to check is one side of our equation equal to 0. Yes, it is. So we can go ahead and start factoring. This is a trinomial, so we need to think of something times something equals a times c, which is 12. Something plus something equals negative 8. And those two numbers are negative 6 and negative 2. Okay, we're going to break apart our trinomial. X squared minus 6x minus 2x equals 12, or plus 12 equals 0. Factor by grouping, we can take out an x. We could take out a negative 2. So our two factors are x minus 2 and x minus 6. So now is going to be the new step. We take each of these variable factors and set them equal to 0. So in one case, x could be 2 or x could be 6. So these are the solutions. Okay, let's look at this example. First check, is one side of the equation equal to 0? No, so what we're going to do is subtract 5 from both sides. So now our quadratic is 6x squared minus 7x equals 0. And we're going to factor it. Something times something has to equal negative 30. Something plus something has to equal negative 7. Those two numbers are going to be negative 10 and 3. So 6x squared minus 10x plus 3x minus 5 equals 0. I can take out a 2x from the first group. And it doesn't look like there's anything the second group has in common, so I'm going to write a 1 as a placeholder. So my two factors end up being 2x plus 1 and 3x minus 5. Now to finish up, we take each factor and set it equal to 0 and solve. So our first root is negative 1/2, and our second root is 5/3. Another word for solutions are roots. Now this example looks complicated, but if we keep following our steps, this shouldn't be any problem at all. First check, is one side of the equation equal to 0? No, it's not. So to get all the terms on one side, we're going to subtract 5x squared, and we're going to subtract 14x. So we will get 10x squared minus 11x minus 6. And there's the 0 that we need. Now to factor it, something times something has to equal negative 60. Something plus something, that needs to equal negative 11. So let's use negative 15 and 4. 10x squared minus 15x plus 4x minus 6 equals 0. I can take out a, what can I take out? I can take out a 2x from the first group. No, I can't. I can take out a 5x from the first group, and I can take out a 2 from the second group. That means my two factors are going to be 5x plus 2 and 2x minus 3. Okay, finishing up this problem, we have 5x plus 2 equals 0, 2x minus 3 equals 0. On the left, x equals negative 2 over 5. And on the right, x equals 3/2. These are the solutions. Here are some graphs of different quadratics. I want to show you where you can find the zeros or the solutions. It's going to be where the graph of the quadratic is equal to 0. So we're talking about right here on the axis. So in this case, this has two solutions. Over on the right-hand side, we have a quadratic, and it looks like it's resting right on the axis. That's going to have one solution. The vertex is on the axis. The last one down here on the bottom doesn't touch the axis at all, so we say that this one has no real solutions. And coming up in later sections, we'll be able to figure out what the complex solutions are for that. One more thing you can do with quadratics. If you are given the zeros to start with, and then you can find the quadratic by using these steps, take your 0 and make factors where x minus whatever number you get for 0 is going to go in that place. Then after you take all of your factors, you can multiply them together and get a quadratic with those zeros. What quadratic equation has roots of negative 4 and 1/2? So let's make our factors x minus negative 4 and x minus 1/2. So that simplifies to x plus 4 times x minus 1/2. Now we're going to multiply. I'm going to use the box. You can FOIL or you can distribute. I'll get x squared, 4x, negative 1/2 x, and negative 2. So this simplifies to f of x equals x squared plus 3.5x minus 2. Now, this is just one of the many equations that a quadratic that has the roots of negative 4 and 1/2. Remember, the first thing when we were factoring was we took out a GCF. So what we could do to create another quadratic equation is multiply in a GCF. So if I multiplied a GCF of 2, for example, I could have 2x squared plus 7x minus 4. If I multiplied in a GCF of 4, I might have 4x squared plus 14x minus 8. So these other alternative quadratics, if you were to factor them and solve, they would have the exact same roots as the one we first multiplied out. All right, if you have any questions, please feel free to email me or ask in class.